Grab your coffee and pull up a chair, ladies, because the whispers coming from the studio a lot this week are absolutely explosive. If you thought Ethan Lovett was just going to fade into the background and run away like a coward, you need to hear what just landed on my desk. The leaked script details for the upcoming sweeps are downright mind-blowing, and what they are allegedly planning for Ethan's return to Port Charles is going to shake the foundation of this legacy family to its core. We are not just talking about a simple recast or a brief visit. We are talking about a full-blown, high-stakes espionage thriller that brings back a ghost from the grave. I have been poring over these rumors all night, and if even half of this is true, the WSB is about to be dragged through the mud in a way we haven't seen in decades. This is not a drill, guys. The board is set, the pieces are moving, and the fallout is going to be catastrophic. If you ask me, the story of Ethan Lovett is far from over. When Christian Howard exited the role and Ethan hastily fled Port Charles, leaving Ava Jerome in the dust and citing the arrival of the mysterious corporate executive Hudson, it felt too easy. It felt like a retreat. But Ethan has the blood of a legendary legacy family running through his veins. He is a Spencer. Spencers do not just run and hide in the shadows forever when the going gets tough. I strongly suspect that Nathan Dean will be reprising the role of Ethan later this summer, and when he steps off the docks and back into the foggy streets of Port Charles, he is going to be carrying a secret so massive, it will trigger a domino effect of absolute destruction for his enemies. Ethan has likely come to a chilling realization during his time on the run. Hiding from a man like Hudson only makes Hudson more dangerous. The longer Ethan stays out of sight, the more time Hudson has to consolidate his power and hunt down the people Ethan left behind. Ethan knows that the only way to end this vicious cycle of fear and pursuit is to turn around, face the monster, and burn Hudson's empire to the ground. But here is where the first major domino falls, ladies. Ethan is not going to return to Port Charles alone. He knows that taking on Hudson and the shadowy forces behind him requires backup, the kind of backup that operates entirely outside the law and has intimate knowledge of the enemy's playbook. I am predicting that Ethan will return with none other than Cassius Faison. Yes, you heard me right. The same Cassius Faison who impersonated his twin brother Nathan West, the man who broke Lulu Spencer's heart, the man the entire town currently believes is dead. If my theory holds true, Cassius did not die. His death was a carefully orchestrated illusion, a smokescreen designed to hide a much darker and more sinister reality. Ethan, in his desperate attempt to find leverage against Hudson, likely stumbled upon the holding facility where Cassius was being kept, sparking a dangerous and thrilling rescue mission that will change the fabric of this show. Let us dig into the psychology of Cassius Faison for a moment, because this is where the hidden agenda of the WSB truly comes into play. We all watched in horror as Cassius betrayed everyone around him, acting as an inside man for Jen Sidwell, working with Ross Cullum, and seemingly destroying the lives of those who loved Nathan. But what if Cassius never actually wanted to do any of those things? What if the WSB, an organization known for its dark and unethical practices, had implemented a manipulative scheme to control his mind? The WSB has a long, documented history of brainwashing and memory manipulation. Just look at what they have done in the past with the Cassidines and the memory mapping projects. I suspect that the WSB captured Cassius and subjected him to intense psychological conditioning, turning him into a remote-controlled asset. He was not a willing traitor. He was a prisoner in his own mind, forced to carry out the WSB's dirty work under the threat of a trigger word. This completely recontextualizes every terrible thing Cassius did while impersonating Nathan. He was a weapon, pointed and fired by the true villains of this story. When Ethan discovered this horrifying truth while tracking Hudson's connections, the next domino tipped over. Ethan could not just leave Cassius there to be used as a pawn. Instead of continuing to run from Hudson, Ethan pivoted. He infiltrated the WSB's black site facility, risking his own life to pull Cassius out of the darkness. But a physical rescue was not enough. Ethan had to break the mental chains binding Cassius to the WSB. Through a grueling, off-screen process of deprogramming, Ethan managed to shatter the mind control, giving Cassius back his memories, his free will, and his true identity. In doing so, Ethan did not just gain a rescued victim, he forged an unholy alliance with one of the most dangerous and knowledgeable men on the planet. Cassius now remembers everything. He remembers what the WSB forced him to do, he remembers the pain he caused Lulu and James, and most importantly, he remembers exactly how Hudson operates. This unholy alliance between the street-smart Spencer heir and the newly liberated Phazon twin is going to be the ultimate weapon against Hudson. Hudson is currently walking around Port Charles with an air of absolute arrogance. He thinks he has already won. He believes Ethan is cowering in a corner of the globe, too terrified to ever show his face again. Furthermore, Hudson likely believes that Cassius is either dead or still safely tucked away under WSB mind control, ready to be activated whenever Hudson needs a dirty deed done. Hudson's hubris is going to be his spectacular downfall. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated shock on Hudson's face when the elevator doors open at his corporate office, and out walks Ethan Lovett, standing shoulder to shoulder with a fully conscious, fully enraged Cassius Phazon. The psychological warfare in that single moment will be a masterclass in soap opera drama. I can already picture the climax of this confrontation. When Hudson realizes that Ethan has returned, his first instinct will be to rely on his ace in the hole. He will look at Cassius, smile that sinister, arrogant smile, and speak the trigger word, the specific phrase the WSB implanted in Cassius's brain to force his immediate compliance. Hudson will expect Cassius to instantly turn on Ethan, to draw a weapon and eliminate the Spencer threat right then and there. But the dominoes have already fallen out of Hudson's favor. Cassius will not blink. He will not turn into a robotic killer. Instead, Cassius will just smirk, look Hudson dead in the eye, and reveal that the conditioning is gone. The sheer terror that will wash over Hudson when he realizes his ultimate weapon is now his ultimate executioner will be incredibly satisfying to watch. Ethan and Cassius will have completely flipped the script, trapping Hudson in a corner with nowhere left to run. But the consequences of this return will ripple far beyond Hudson's immediate downfall. Think about the massive domino effect this will have on the rest of Port Charles. Let us start with Ava Jerome. Ava has been furious, blaming Sonny Corinthos for Ethan's sudden departure, feeling abandoned and used after Ethan fled. When Ethan returns, not as a coward, but as a conquering hero who went into the belly of the beast to dismantle a global conspiracy, how will Ava react? Will she forgive him for leaving her in the dark, or will the fact that he teamed up with a man like Cassius push her further away? Ava loves power, and seeing Ethan wield this kind of dangerous leverage over the WSB might just reignite the fiery passion between them, creating a formidable power couple that even Sonny Corinthos will have to respect. Then we have to look at the absolute emotional devastation waiting for Lulu Spencer and young James West. Lulu was shattered when she discovered that the man in her bed was not her beloved Nathan, but his deceptive twin brother. She felt violated, angry, and deeply betrayed. James had his heart broken when Cody Bell had to tell him that his father was an imposter and was now dead. When Cassius walks back into Port Charles, the trauma will be ripped wide open all over again. But this time, the context is entirely different. How will Lulu process the revelation that Cassius was not acting on his own free will? That the man who lied to her was actually a victim of a manipulative scheme, trapped inside his own mind, while the WSB pulled his strings? Will she be able to find it in her heart to forgive him, knowing he was essentially a hostage in his own body? Or is the damage too deep, the wounds too severe for any kind of redemption? This is the kind of rich, complex, legacy-driven storytelling that we have been begging for. And what about Britt Westbourne? Britt threw a violent fit in her jail cell when she learned of Cassius's supposed death. She grieved for the brother she thought she had finally found, only to lose him to the WSB's dark games. When Ethan brings Cassius back to the land of the living, Britt will have to reconcile her immense relief with the horrifying truth of what the WSB did to him. Britt and Cassius, united by their shared trauma and their Phazon bloodline, could become a massive thorn in the side of the authorities. With Ethan's help, they could launch a massive legal and public relations war against the WSB, exposing their mind control programs and their illegal black sites to the world. The WSB would be gutted, its leadership exposed, and Hudson would be left to face the wrath of a town that has suffered under his organization's thumb for far too long. If you ask me, Ethan Lovett's return is not just about tying up a loose end with a corporate executive. It is about Ethan finally stepping up to claim his legacy. He is no longer just Luke Spencer's wandering son looking for a quick score or a way out of trouble. By rescuing Cassius and orchestrating this massive takedown, Ethan is proving that he has the strategic brilliance of a Cassadine and the fierce, protective loyalty of a Spencer. He has found a reason to stop running. He knows that he has to end this war, not just for his own freedom, but to protect Ava, to bring justice for Cassius, and to ensure that men like Hudson can never manipulate innocent lives again. This unholy alliance is going to shake Port Charles to its very core, leaving no family untouched by the fallout. The stage is set for an explosive summer, ladies. Ethan and Cassius are holding all the cards, and Hudson has absolutely no idea that his empire is about to crumble into dust. But as we all know, in the world of daytime drama, no victory comes without a heavy price, and the WSB is not an organization that goes down without a bloody fight. Will Ethan and Cassius be able to expose the truth and exact their revenge before the WSB sends its deadliest assassins to silence them forever? Or will this unholy alliance ultimately lead both men straight into a deadly trap they cannot escape?